Good evening, everybody. This is Joe Scalzo and Fraz Frazzle. Gans with Purpose. This teaching is to elevate everybody to higher understanding. It's all you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Joe. For those of you that have been following the series, this is actually our third video. You will need to have under your belt already the two videos that were attached to the last one, which was on the properties of water. Without that under your belt for knowledge, this next section is going to seem pretty irrelevant. This is a super important point that we'll be bringing up today. And it has to do with what are you doing with your GANs, what is the purpose of your GANs, and are you being attentive to every piece and part of your build project. I've got a couple of different GANSs to show you today, and I'll show you my labeling and how we came up and some of the finer points, I think, on this. In line of GANSs, the ones that you've had collected, the ones that you've been playing with for the last 6 months, 2 months, a year, whatever project it was, for this next build, for the ones that our team has been working on and what we're showing you for in the next future videos, you are going to need your GANs set up from new. And because you might have been with your purpose beforehand saying, I just want to make GANs. Okay, you made GANs, great. I put it on the shelf and I forgot about it. Well, fine, but it is changing because it's been sitting next to your other GANSs, or you don't know what your purpose was when you started. Maybe I was going to make a bag grab with it. Maybe I was going to make an electrical system. Each of these have different properties of devices in where they are in the infinity loop. You have the expanding magnetical, you have the collapsing magnetical, you have the expanding gravitational, you have the collapsing gravitational. And wherever you pick that up on that infinity loop, that sideways figure 8 is going to make a difference in what you're going to get out of your systems. As I said, we're thinking in 3 dimension, and we're looking at entire systems as we put these together. It's not just components anymore, it's the entire device. We start with simple CuO. And I've got mine in my little bottle. This is what I've collected, copper oxide, and it says spaceship on it. And every time I go past it, it's got the label out in front, and it says spaceship. So I know what this one's for. This was created new. It was for this specific purpose. I have my very best CO2. This has been washed, and it's had the light portions collected off of the heavy portions. A lot of your heavy portions on your CO2 GANs, the heavies are a lot of times zinc oxide. And we're looking for the light stuff. And show you what that looks like. This is the new one, and it's just settled out. This hasn't been washed yet. And this is basically, there's actually 3 components in this one, and it's labeled, it's brand spanking new, zinc CO2 for the power unit. This is a CO2 batch, but it has been cleaned and it hasn't been separated. You'll notice that the bottom is a little bit dark, and that's the reason for this, is that this was created using voltage. I have a variable power supply, and so we get a little more heavies on that one. When you separate out the heavies, that pretty almost white or light gray CO2 zinc oxide gives up this darker. And from the only thing that I can tell on this one is probably something like ZNO3, the zinc oxide 3. It's a different, and it is a reactive GANs. It'll actually produce, if you tap it, I don't know if this is roll or not. I've moved it so it doesn't bubble. This one actually produces a gas or a plasma gas off of it that will sustain a flame. So in scientific terms, if it doesn't whistle or bang, it's not hydrogen. If it sustains a flame, it's probably oxygen. If it quenches a flame, if it puts the flame out, it's probably CO2, carbon dioxide. So that's just kind of a quick down and dirty test. A full spectrum analysis would probably be required, but for basically those of us in the garage type of lab situations, that's going to at least give you a hint of what's coming off of your Ganses. I have my CH3, and at this point, I'm highly recommend that you start over with your CH3 and go for mass quantities. At this point, for the car units, which is this one, this is washed already, it's the heavies, and this one we're going to reduce down to a paste for the car. So this is a car unit CH3, and we're going to go to a paste. And in my notations, you'll see CO2 or CH3 and brackets, capital P, and that's for paste. For aqueous, which is the clear part, let's stay with the CH3 so it's easier. In our CH3, this clear part, or the liquid plasma portion, is the aqueous. This is the CH3 brackets A, capital A in the bracket. And you can have the designators plus and minus on that for pH also, and that's easily tested with your litmus paper. The other GANs that we're going to be needing is this one. And this one is called Gans of urine. It's made the same way as you do your Aramis or your Gans of seawater. You place your caustic into the urine, and I'll tell you offhand, it's going to smell to high heavens when it first does. You're going to release quite a bit of ammonia. Keep that in mind. You may need that in a later device so that you know how to pick up ammonia or nitrogen gases in some form. This later on. That one has to be washed several times. And after you get it washed 3-4 times, it loses that ammonia smell, which is nice. It becomes very solid, very stable, and kind of fluffy. It looks a lot like the CO2, and that's why we say we need to keep things labeled. In the course of the next few videos, 4, 5, 6, we'll actually be building 3 devices at the same time. So your Ganses are going to have to match that. So up front, like starting today, this is Christmas, this is my Christmas present to everybody, it's time to start your new Ganses with purpose. And let's see what else we've got in here. From what I'm looking at for the car units, you're going to need about a cup of CH3 paste. And the reason we're going to paste is that the cars are basically a wide variety of temperatures, from very, very cold, like where Joe is, it can drop into the -degrees Fahrenheit. In my area, it can go from maybe 18 degrees Fahrenheit up to almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a wide range, and these things are, and plus the inside of your car is going to go through extreme temperature changes too. So we've got to get some of these Ganses in a state that is applicable to the environment that they'll be needing to perform in. And for the Joule ringer circuits and that kind of stuff, it looks like the CH3 paste is a really good option, and we'll be testing it. So you're going to need your labels. You're going to need them, and use lots of them, and get everything labeled and marked. Start your Ganses up. Review from the Keshe Foundation how to do each of the Ganses. They're pretty simple. They don't have to have voltage to them. You don't have to have a variable power supply. Just be patient. And we're actually saying that the slower that you make your Ganses at the lower voltages, the better Gans product you're going to have for these builds that we're going to be working on here in the next few days and weeks. So anything else you want to add to that, Joe? We'll bring you back up on.
No, like I said, you covered it. You have everything covered. I think we have a good video here to be released.
Okay. Please refer to the properties of water video on that second video we uploaded on Christmas Eve. You're going to need it under your belt. We will be attaching other videos as we get into the formation of toroids, the formation of plasma fields, the interaction of plasma fields. The folks that did the toroid mathematics, I take my hat off to them for doing all the work they have in preparation. Without them, I would have been totally clueless on this. And so thank you very much, and we'll see you real soon.